In honor of Dan Hurley coming back, we are going to do a draft of the best coaches in college basketball.
Currently.
So here's what I propose. I propose we do a serpentine draft, also known as a snake draft.
Yeah, so 1, 2, 3,
4 or 5, yes.
6, 7. So you basically get the first pick, and then it's 2 straight consecutive picks.
Now here's a question.
Who gets the first pick?
Yes. I say we do best 2 out of 3 rock, paper, scissors.
Okay.
Ready?
Ready?
Rock, paper, scissors, shoot. Boom. Rock,
Rock,
paper,
paper,
scissors,
scissors,
shoot. Rock, paper, scissors, shoot. Rock, paper, scissors, shoot.
All right. Do you want the first pick, or do you want second and third?
I'm going to take the first pick.
Okay, fair enough.
And you already know who it is. Give me Dan Hurley.
All right. Well, here's a tough one.
Yeah.
All right. So I made a list, and I don't really fully agree with it, but I'm going to. Do I follow it? All right. I'm going to do it. I'm going with Kelvin Sampson,
Okay.
and I'm going with Mark Few.
Mark Few.
Yeah.
He was down my list. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, he was second for me.
Okay. That leaves me. All right. I like.
I know what I did.
Very happy picking first now.
Yeah, I know. Because I wanted the first pick because whoever you picked, I would have picked based off of it.
Yeah.
Because the top 5 is pretty solidified, in my opinion.
Okay. We'll see. Because
Go
I'm
for it.
about to pick 2 guys. I think you'll have one of them. I don't think you'll have the other.
Go for it.
My next pick. By the way, we're going to pick 10 coaches. I don't think we mentioned that. But we're picking 10 coaches. My next pick is going to be Nate Oates.
Okay.
Up-and-comer. Best young coach right now.
Yeah, I wouldn't argue with that.
Yeah. My next pick is Chris Beard.
He was 16th.
16th?
He had me 16th.
That's wild.
I don't think it is.
That is wild.
I'll explain.
Okay.
So I'm very happy with this. So I've got Mark Few. I've got Kelvin Sampson.
Mm-hmm.
Dan Hurley won the last 2 national championships. Give me the last 2 coaches to do it. Before him, I got Bill Self and Scott Drew.
This is Bill Self and Scott Drew. Okay. Not bad picks. I don't hate those at all. For my next picks, I'm going to go with the only remaining coach on the board that has multiple national championships in college, Rick Pitino.
He wasn't even on my list.
All right, there we go. We got some dissent here among the two. He was pretty high on my draft board.
I will explain my draft board once we're done.
All right.
But
So
I looked for the keyword current here. And recently between Iona and St. John's, I've not seen the progress. So that's why
he
I did
spent
that.
1 year at St. John's.
Right, and before that he was at Iona.
They were one of the only schools in the country to be competitive with UConn. That's why he's on my list still.
I don't have him there.
All right, I still have one more pick.
Oh,
So Rick Pitino, you got that one. Bruce Pearl. I got Bruce Pearl next.
23rd.
23rd for you?
I am 23rd.
Dang. Give me Bruce Pearl, baby.
All right. So next up, I'm going to go with Mark Few, Kelvin Sampson. I mean, I got my 2, 3, 4, and 5. And I'm going to go with, you took my 6 at Nate Oates. So I'm going to go with Greg McDermott.
Okay.
And kind of a surprising one here, but I'm going to do it. Give me Mick Cronin.
Mick Cronin, he's in the middle of my list. He's there. No, he's a very consistent coach. This last season
was rough.
It was a bit of a departure from the norm. Prior to that, he'd been to the NCAA I don't know, what was it? I think he went 11 straight years at Cincinnati. He missed it his first year at UCLA, and then he went the next 3 years. So what is that? 14 out of 15 years he made the tournament?
Yeah.
With a Final Four, an Elite Eight, and a Sweet 16 in there. That's pretty good.
Yeah, it is.
I don't hate that pick at all. All right. See, I've got my next 2 guys.
There you go.
Perfectly lined up here. I don't think you're going to like them.
Go for it.
Next up, I have Matt Painter.
I actually was going to pick him next.
Okay, all right. And then Tommy Lloyd. He's flamed out in the tournament a little bit, but I think he's so good.
I think he's good. I had him at 18.
Okay.
All right, so
I have 7 coaches. How many do you have?
6.
6. Okay.
So I'm going to go with Eric Musselman,
That's off my board.
and then I'm torn between 2 guys right now. You know what? We'll go with it. Nah, because the other one's got a Final Four. Brian Dutcher.
Okay. He was not on my list.
Yeah,
First guy not on my list.
Yeah, I'm going with Brian Dutcher.
It's not I don't hate that pick though.
No.
He's good. He's shown what he can do when he has talent.
Right.
My next one, this is a hot coaching name. I think this might be divisive a little bit.
Go for it.
But I guess it is my 8th pick. And my 9th pick is also going to be quite divisive. I'm going to pick TJ Otzelberger at Iowa State.
Didn't even think of him. I forgot about him. Great pick.
Great pick, I know.
Great pick. Forgot
TJ,
about him.
I got Otz. And I'm going to pick Tony Bennett. Virginia.
Tony Bennett was on my board, but he didn't even crack my top 25.
Tony Bennett, that's my guy. That's who I'm picking.
Currently, no. All right. So that means I'm going to go with Rick Barnes
All right.
and Hubert Davis.
Hubert Davis was not on my list. I considered him,
1, 2,
not on my
3,
list.
4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I think that's it for me.
That's it for you? All right, and I think I've got 1 pick left.
Yeah, I think you got 1.
I'm going to go Brad Underwood, Illinois.
He was right below them. He was at 15 for me.
All right, man. That's good for me. I think that's a good solid list.
So run me down the coaches you have.
What, my big board, my big draft board?
Your 10. Who's your 10?
I got Dan Hurley, Nate Oates, Chris Beard, Rick Pitino, Bruce Pearl, Matt Painter, Tommy Lloyd, TJ Otzelberger, Tony Bennett, and Brad Underwood.
Okay.
It's a good list.
I mean, here's mine for you. I've got Mark Few, Kelvin Sampson, Bill Self, Scott Drew, Greg McDermott, Mick Cronin, Eric Musselman, Brian Dutcher, Rick Barnes, and Hubert Davis.
Hubert Davis is an interesting one.
So
I like him. I think he's a good coach.
So I'll break down my selections and what I did. I did it systematically.
All right.
So what I did is I feel like since COVID, the game has changed.
Sure.
So, and since 2021 to 2024, we've had tournaments, right? So 4 years of results we can go back and base it upon, right? So what I did is I assigned point totals for how far they've gotten in the tournament in the last 4 years. 1 point for the round of 16, 7 points for winning the national championship.
Okay.
And then I added up those points over the course of the 4 years, basically. Dan Hurley was tied for first with Mark Few for me because he had 2 national championships and 2 rounds of 64s.
He's tied with Mark Few?
Yes, because Mark Few had a final 2, made the national championship, an Elite 8, and 2 rounds of 16s.
I mean,
So, and then Kelvin Sampson was third with the Final 4, Elite 8, and 2 Sweet 16s.
yeah, Kelvin Sampson was number 2 on my list overall.
Right. And so, and then I got the next 2 guys that had national champions in Bill Self and Scott Drew. The only issue with them is that they either get knocked out in the round as 32 or they win the national championship. There's no in between as far as that goes. But yeah, that was the way I did it, and I assigned points, and then they had point totals. And so my reason why, for example, Rick Pitino is not on my list or Tony Bennett was not on my list is because their point totals were so few that they just weren't even a thought for me.
I simply went on, like, who do I think are the best coaches in the sport?
But yeah.
And Rick Pitino, I think, is still coaching at a super high level. I like my list a lot.
Really?
Yeah, I'm a big fan of my list.
I'm disappointed I missed out on TJ Otzelberger because he was one that I was like, I didn't even write down because I was like thinking of coaches. But yeah, there's my list and the rankings of them all.
Otz has a couple of Sweet 16s.
I know, so that would have given him at least 6 points right there, which is.
And the thing is, TJ Otzelberger, in his first year at Iowa State, made the Sweet 16 when they won 2 games the year before. 2 2 games total.
Wow.
They're not insane.
That is pretty remarkable.
Yeah. Guy can coach. He did not do a good job at UNLV, which is interesting. Don't know how he got the job at Iowa State. He did a bad job at UNLV.
So who are guys that I picked that you didn't have? You didn't have Brian Dutcher or...
I didn't have Dutcher or Hubert Davis. They were not on my list.
I gotcha. Did you had Jim Leppen?
Larinaga.
Yeah, did you have him on your list?
He was, he was not on my big board, but I looked at him.
I gotcha. Yeah, but that's how I ranked them, and it was like, do I go with like...
Chris Beard is low, man. That's really low.
It's just the one Elite Eight with Texas, though.
But he made the national championship game with Texas Tech. That's insane.
Here's what's the different part about it, though, is that I truly do believe, like, since COVID, with NIL, same thing with Tony Bennett. I feel like the game has changed completely, and same thing with Calipari, is that as far as, like, a current coach goes and for what I want right now, I need to see previous success as well as being able to do recruiting and do the portal as well. So, like, I looked at it from a whole perspective, like, yeah, does this guy have a national championship? Is it almost 8 years ago that he has it, though? Like in Tony Bennett? It kind of weighed the options there. Also, another coach of, like, John Shire, where he's only had 2 years under his belt. Has made an Elite Eight, though.
Nah, you know me. You know how I feel about John Shire.
Well, he was right there, tied for 20th right there. Just only having 2 years under his belt.
Bruce Pearl's low, too.
Bruce Pearl
Andy Enfield? I don't know. I don't know about Andy Enfield.
I mean, if you look at the success, it's him and, I mean, like, it's pretty comparable.
I don't know.
I mean, like, Shaheen Holloway, a coach that was linked to, like, Louisville.
Yeah, no, I like Shaheen Holloway.
He made the tournament once in the last 4 years. And it's the one time he went to the Elite Eight. But other than that, he just hasn't made the tournament.
Yeah. No, I think Shaheen Holloway's a good coach.
I really thought Will Wade would be more, but no.
I like Will Wade. He's just never had tournament success.
Right.
That is the only hindrance with Will Wade.
Well, like, that's the issue with
that,
like,
openly cheating like there's no tomorrow.
Right. That, you could argue, I mean, Will Wade on my list is better than John Calipari, if that says anything.
Yeah.
So, I mean, same with Bruce Pearl. Bruce Pearl hasn't made a Sweet 16 since COVID.
But he's got a Final Four under his belt. Like, he can do it.
That's the tough part.
Basketball hasn't changed that much.
I think it has, though. I feel like since COVID, with the way that you can now pay players and you got to manage a roster and a more or less, for lack of better words, a contract with players as well, and keep them happy year in and year out. This is how I look for success, and it's like, I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I'm happy getting my top 4 out of 5 guys. I really think I did really well here.
I got
Nate Oates was the one that stung a little bit. I wanted to see if he could fall to me.
I got 3 out of my top 4, and I got 4 out of my top 6. I'm happy with that.
Yeah. It's just interesting, different viewpoints on it. Because I was like, I knew like you probably didn't have like Mick Cronin on your list, or you
No, Mick
didn't.
Cronin was on my list.
Really?
He wasn't as high as you, but no, he's on my list.
Yeah, McDermott.
I did have McDermott. He's hovering around the same range as Mick.
Fair enough. But yeah, let us know in the comments who you felt did better.
We'll do a poll. How about that?
Yeah.
We'll do a poll, and you can vote on who has the better list of coaches.
No worries.
No worries?
Yeah, no worries.
It sounds like someone's worried.
Oh, I'm pretty confident in mine.
I'm confident in my list. You might look. I know I'm hedging my bets already. You might get votes solely based on. I think the people that vote in polls are young people. I'll be perfectly honest.
I mean,
I think I'm going to win the poll simply because I have Dan Hurley.
you do have Dan Hurley. I mean, as far as like winning coaches go, you went older. So like you went Tony Bennett and stuff like that. Like if it was like all-time current coaches, Tony Bennett's up there for me. Sure. No questions.
Tony Bennett was a little bit of a legacy pick for me, but I do still think he's a good coach, and he's attempting. He's said it. We'll see. how it goes in practice, but he said he's attempting to change his offensive system. That, to me, if he does it, it's going to elevate him substantially. Because right now he is severely fallen in the eyes of coaching circles.
Yeah, as far as like legacy goes, it's like Rick Pitino's not on my board because he just hasn't done anything since leaving Louisville.
But he
was
out of basketball, like college basketball, for so long, and then he went to Iona, and he should have made the tournament this year with St. John's, year one. I think Rick Pitino is fine with the portal. I think he knows what he's doing. I think they just don't have the funds.
But I just look at it from that perspective, like current. It's like, personally, like, we both didn't draft Tom Izzo. Great coach.
No, because I think the game's past Izzo.
Right, and I think that's the same for Bennett and for Rick Pitino.
I don't agree with you. I think the game is past Izzo, both from he doesn't utilize the portal or NIL and on the court.
Mm-hmm.
They're not as good as they once were. And Pitino teams are still good. They're still good. He should have made the tournament every single year at Iona. They just were in a one-bid league, and they got snubbed 2 times. It's as simple as that for me with Rick Pitino. With Tony Bennett, his offense is extremely outdated. I'll give you that. But his defense has not changed. It's one of the most stout defenses in the country. And he says, I'm projecting here a little bit.
Yeah.
But he says that he wants to change his offensive philosophy. He needs to change his offensive philosophy. And as far as recruiting in both the transfer portal and high school, Virginia is not helping him out at all. Like the university. They were trying to get players in the portal that didn't meet academic standards, and the university was like, tough luck. We're not helping you out. So he had to adjust to what he was doing. I think he gets it now as far as the portal. He gets it. I think he just doesn't have the support from the university. I think if he were at a different school, I think he would be pulling in better transfers than he is.
I mean, I'll put it this way. Losing by 20 to the playing game last year,
abysmal.
It's not a good look.
It's abysmal. I agree with you.
And honestly, since the national championship they won in 2017.
2019.
Was it 2019?
Yes.
Okay, apologies.
When they beat Chris Beard and Texas Tech.
Right. I'm saying it's different, though. I truly do believe.
College basketball is different, but the game of basketball is not that different.
Well, the game of basketball is never going to be completely different. I don't think that no one's going to argue that at all.
I don't know. It's pretty different now than it was in like the early 2000s. Back to the baskets. It might be coming back in college, but it's not as.
I think analytics has definitely had its part in that and what is considered more efficient offenses.
Yeah.
Right. But as far as like going off of like NIL and like a new era of like players finally getting paid, this is where I view success now. Whereas like Tony Bennett, Tom Izzo, Rick Pitino, John Calipari, all fantastic coaches, all going to be in the Hall of Fame one day, right? I think it's gone by them.
I think Pitino gets it. He just doesn't have the backing. Like if you look at all the players St. John's was in the portal that they just didn't close, it's some good players. They just don't have the money to compete. They just don't. They don't. And in Iona is not even in the same stratosphere as other schools as far as NIL.
Right. And so I'm saying, like, there's a reason why he went to that school to get his restart, and there's a reason why he viewed himself as a comparable level to that. It's because of all the stuff that happened, right?
It's not he viewed himself as comparable level. It's Iona was the only one willing to take a chance on him.
Right. So that's why you accept it.
But no one was afraid to take a chance on Rick Pitino because of coaching acumen. It was because of the off-the-court stuff.
Right. And that plays a factor into how he does on the court.
I don't agree.
Yes.
I don't agree. If you watch St. John's, they are still competitive.
It's like saying like I'm the best player ever, but then also being like, well, prove it. And it's like, well, I just am. No, you got to prove it. You can't just say that.
My proof is that if you watch him If you watch those games,
They didn't make the tournament this year.
They should have.
That's your no.
Yes.
What do you mean?
They should have made it.
They didn't though.
Okay.
Why couldn't? If they should have made it, they should have solidified themselves in the fact that they should have made it.
Oh, don't give me that argument.
What are
Do
you
not.
talking about? They should have won more games then. Why didn't they win more games?
It was his first year.
Oh, so we're just gonna build on excuses for him and say that he's a fantastic coach?
He is a fantastic coach.
So what is he gonna do? Win the national championship next year? St.
I
John's?
didn't say that. No.
Then what are you trying to get at then?
Is Shaka Smart gonna win the national championship?
No.
Okay. What about Hubert Davis?
No.
Well, Hubert Davis is 13 on your, or I guess he's 12. He's tied for 12.
Tied for 12.
That's up there.
It is up
He's
there.
not even considered for the national championship?
No, not this year.
Okay. What about Creighton? Because he's tied for 6. Greg McDermott is.
I mean, if he continues what he's doing, if he continues to have the same success, I think they just got Baylor. What's his name?
Baylor
back.
Shireman is out of eligibility.
I thought he was coming back.
No, they got Kalkbrenner back.
Kolkbren.
And Baylor Shireman is the reason they had so much success last
Honestly,
year.
if I'm being completely honest with you, it is the top 6 coaches I feel like have the best shot of winning next year, right here. Maybe not Scott Drew, but like Bill Self did phenomenal.
Why not Scott Drew? Their team's going to be great next year.
Okay, maybe 6. I'll include him then. I'll give myself more, but I feel like Dan Hurley, Mark Few, Kelvin Sampson, based off of the transfer portal and the recruiting classes they have coming in, these top 6 coaches have the best shot. And I don't think that's really a big argument to be made. Would you take these top 6 coaches, which is Dan Hurley, Mark Few, Kelvin Sampson, Bill Self, Scott Drew, and Nate Oates, or would you take the field? And the fact that you're contemplating that makes me realize that this is a damn good list.
Relax. Here's what I think. I mean, the way college sports in general works is it's the top teams have a shot, and then other people are just playing the game too.
But the other thing about it, though, is that the top teams usually have the top coaches because the best coaching wins you national championships.
But I would take Baylor's roster with Rick Pitino over Baylor's roster with Scott Drew.
Yeah, and what I'm trying to get at is there's a reason why Rick Pitino's not even on my list is because he will never get that roster.
St. John's doesn't have a good NIL collective.
And I'm telling you, he will never get back to that point where he was with Louisville or Kentucky or even
It's
Providence.
not because of him, though. It's because of the off-the-court stuff. It's because the FBI threw his name in an investigation that it shouldn't have been in.
I don't know about his name shouldn't have been in it.
It shouldn't have. It's all legal now. Rick Pitino is the only one still getting flack, other than the assistants who are now blackballed from the sport. But he's the only head coach still getting flack from that. Actually, no, I take that back. Will Wade, too. Those two are the only ones still getting flack. And they are great coaches at low-level schools.
Right.
Rick Pitino less so, because he's still in the Power 5. He's still at a high major school.
Right, and they bent the rules and broke them in a time where they were not allowed to do that.
Everyone was. Everyone was. Are you kidding me? Everyone was.
Okay, like Sean Miller, we know for a fact was doing it at Arizona. We know that.
Yeah, Bill Self was. Yes.
When?
He was caught on tape complaining about, like, why didn't this guy come here? We made a, like, I made, you know, like, he's hardballing me. We made him a great offer. It's not, you know, the strong-ass offer that Will Wade was caught saying on tape. But, like, Bill Self was caught on tape complaining about it, about how we made someone an offer and they didn't come to Kansas still.
You mean, okay. But yeah, I'm happy with my list.
I guess we'll see. I guess we'll see when we put the poll out there.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, like, you did poach 2 of those guys. You got Nate Oates and Dan Hurley there.
Yeah.
You got the bread. I got the meat part.
I'm just telling you, like, I just think Rick Pitino can still coach. His defenses are still pesky. They're so difficult to deal with, and he's a good offensive coach too.
Okay. Is St. John's going to be the best from the rest in the Big East as far as, like, I'll give you UConn, Creighton, and Marquette. Are they going to be the 4th team?
Yes.
All right.
Absolutely.
You heard it here.
They've got Kadari Richmond and that other guard whose name I can't think of. I think he's from Oregon State. I could be wrong about that, though. They got 2 guards in the portal that are really good. Depending on what services you go after, Kadari Richmond is the number 1 player in the transfer portal, and he's going to St. John's.
All right.
I'm just saying, you can't say that he can't recruit when he's getting the number 1 player in the portal. He was in on other guys, they just didn't have the money.
I'm not saying he can't recruit. I'm not saying he can't do the portal, because he definitely did it last year with all that. I'm just saying, like, as far as on-the-court results go, I don't have him in consideration because of what he's done the past 4 years.
He was at Iona, though.
Once again, that is what I'm getting at.
I think it's a flawed system. I think it's a flawed system.
I don't think it is, because I'm not going for legacy picks in Tony Bennett, Rick Pitino right now, because they haven't shown.
I'm reaching with Tony Bennett. I'll give you that. I like the Tony Bennett pick, but I'm reaching with it. Rick Pitino, I don't think I am.
This draft was based off of current. Who do you currently want?
Yeah, I know.
And so that's what I'm going on.
I told you I would take Rick Pitino with Baylor's roster over Scott Drew. To me, that's what's current right now. I would take Kansas's roster with Rick Pitino over Bill Self any day of the week. Any day of the week.
All right.
You have a debate between Mark Few and Rick Pitino with Gonzaga, because I think Mark Few is a phenomenal coach. He was up there. I think he was, and my list he was right below Pitino. But it's right below. They're right next to each other in my list. Mm-hmm. So in my eyes, Rick Pitino's like up here.
See, part of me wanted to go Oates and Sampson, and maybe I could have gotten Few. Maybe I could have gone. Because I was like, I should go Oates.
You could, if you would have got Sampson and Oates, you would have also got Mark Few.
Yeah. See,
I'm just telling you right now, you would have also gotten Mark Few.
It's like, do I trust my board or do I trusted the board? Should have gone with the gut.
No, you should have trusted the board.
Yeah.
Best player available. Best coach available.
Yeah, but I was like, I really like Nate Oates, though. I think outside of Dan Hurley, Nate Oates is probably one of the hottest coaches right now.
I think he's the 3rd best coach in the sport.
Dan Hurley.
I just ranked it based on who I think are the best coaches in the sport.
Fair enough. And I didn't really do it based off of a personal basis. I just did it based off of recent success. And didn't throw my bias in there.
Okay. Feels like a loaded comment.
It's not. No, I mean, like, you said your best. It's just what you thought was the best.
Okay.
I didn't do it based off of, like, oh, yeah, I really like him. Like, I totally forgot about TJ Osselberger. Like, I didn't even fathom me to put him in there, because I was looking at recents. I went through the last 4 tournaments, and I was like, who's made runs? And then I wrote down those teams, and I was like, who coached them? And then I started to create the list.
All right. We have different philosophies.
Yeah,
we would be 2 very different GMs.
Yes, we would.